Hi, my name is Gabe, and in this video, I'll be looking into Saving Private Ryan.
We're in business, defilade! Other side of the hole!
Saving Private Ryan is another film I think is very misunderstood, mainly because its depth and meaning run contrary to its surface layers. Specifically, while on the surface Saving Private Ryan may seem anti-war, deep down, it is actually a supportive of war film. Before I get into this, you should know that spoilers are ahead. And so are some pretty graphic clips, not just from Saving Private Ryan, but also from other related films. Alright, let's begin. To start, we should probably go over what a supportive of war film is. When most people think pro-war, they think propaganda. Battleship Potemkin, Triumph of the Will, the film within a film in Inglourious Bastards, stuff like that. There's no question these films support war, but for the most part, minus the first and last shots, Saving Private Ryan is not this. But propaganda is not the only way to make a film that supports war. Films can also glamorize war, or show it as cool. Top Gun, Fury, and almost every video game today does this.
Make like a landlord and evict the bastards.
Saving Private Ryan, however, doesn't. It actually does more to deglamorize war than just about everything. This is that anti-war surface layer I mentioned earlier. But there is a third category of supportive of war films. Films that show that the fight was worth it. Lone Survivor does this, showing Navy SEALs fighting for the Iraqis who believe in them, as does The Patriot, where revolutionaries fight for independence and also for justice against a comically evil enemy. And also Glory, which shows Black Americans fighting not just to end slavery, but also for respect and dignity. It is in this last category that you can add Saving Private Ryan. This is because no matter how awful war is depicted, at the end of the day, the film is about defeating Nazis. War may be terrible, but there are things that are worse.
Black gun 20mm, take it out!
Like this. Or this. Or this. These are the very things the soldiers in Saving Private Ryan are fighting to end. Compare this to actual anti-war films, ones that show war as purposeless in addition to terrible. Examples include soldiers dying solely for their superiors' egos, soldiers in situations where it is impossible to achieve victory,
There's too many locks.
soldiers who don't even believe in their cause, or who the hell even knows what these soldiers are fighting for. Even in a war as black and white as World War II, you can still show war as purposeless by showing soldiers facing bureaucracy or in no-win situations.
In order to be grounded, I've got to be crazy. And I must be crazy to keep flying. But if I ask to be grounded, that means I'm not crazy anymore and I have to keep flying.
Or trying hopelessly to avoid their own destruction and devastation.
We were all set here to kill Japs, weren't we? So what the hell difference does it make what weapon we use? I'd use my goddamn hands if I had to.
But you don't show it by showing soldiers defeating Nazis. I can't think of a single greater purpose for war than that. If there's anything anti-war in this regard in Saving Private Ryan, it's the fact that the film is about 8 soldiers fighting to save one, not necessarily to defeat Nazis. This could have built to an anti-war statement, but it doesn't, because the film bends over backwards explaining why this mission is important and how it is part of the overall war effort. Take, for example, this sequence, 8 minutes whose sole purpose is to explain the importance of this mission. The women back home tell us, colonels tell us, captains and lieutenants, and even General Marshall himself tells us. Even Abraham Lincoln is quoted, with lines like,
died gloriously on the field of battle.
and
laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom.
And notice how Marshall isn't even reading anymore? He has the letter memorized. That's how important these ideas are to him. And after all this, just in case you still don't get it, the film tells us again, here.
I understand what you're doing. You do? Yeah. I got a couple of brothers myself.
Oh,
Good luck.
thank you.
I mean it. Find them. Get them home.
And they also remind us one more time at the end.
And the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. Abraham Lincoln. Yours very sincerely and respectfully, George C. Marshall, General, Chief of Staff.
This Marshall sequence, a sequence so important the film actually leaves Normandy to show it, is the most significant supportive of war sequence in the film, but it is not the only one. Another sequence is the climax. This mission to save Ryan could have taken our squad anywhere, including the middle of nowhere, i.e. removing them from the fight, 8 soldiers doing nothing to help defeat Nazis. Instead, the mission takes them to one of the most important battles in the Normandy campaign, a battle the Allies would have lost had they not been there.
Find the captain! This flag's gonna fall!
Because of this, when it's all said and done, you don't even have to moralize the Ryan mission. You see its significance directly. And let's not overlook the sequence that starts the film. This battle, while horrifying, is also one of the greatest and most important accomplishments in US history. It is something Americans are and should be proud of. It is not an anti-war statement, no matter how horrifyingly it is depicted. Moving away from sequences, even the specifics in this film are more supportive of than anti-war, like the film's Brotherhood of War dynamic, or the idea that war can be good for those fighting it. This second idea is brought up by Upham.
War educates the senses, calls into action the will, perfects the physical constitution, brings men into such swift and close collision in critical moments that man measures man.
And Miller and Horowitz.
Like you said, Captain. We do that, we all earn the right to go home.
And we see it with Ryben, who at first hates Ryan, then grows to respect him. And also with Wade, who in the middle of war finds motivation for self-reflection. Finally, the last supportive of war aspect I'll bring up is how the soldiers are depicted. Specifically, all the characters in this film are depicted in an incredibly positive way. Well, maybe not Upham, but 8 out of 9 are. We have the all-American New Yorker, the cocky in a funny way and super talented sniper, the Jew who fights Nazis,
I'm Juden, you know? Juden.
the likable medic, the guy tough enough to take a bullet and keep fighting, another tough guy who is also warm and caring, the soldier who views his fellow soldiers as family.
Tell her that when you found me, I was here, and I was with the only brothers that I have left.
And leading them all is an honorable everyman, one played by arguably the most likable American in history. In short, every soldier is depicted as brave and heroic, specifically for what they did in World War II. This is true of the supporting characters as well. Minus Upham, the only soldiers not depicted heroically are these two, who are in the film for 30 whole seconds, and this single moment. That's it, in a film 3 hours in length. To be fair, there's also this guy, whose storyline shows how morality and war often cannot coexist. A message that is echoed in this battle.
Here you go. Here it comes.
And here as well.
Not here to do the decent thing. We're here to follow fucking orders. Guys, take this goddamn kid! Come on!
But excuse me if this doesn't change my opinion, as the injustices here are nothing compared to the injustices the Allies are fighting to end. But here's the thing. None of what I've said makes Saving Private Ryan bad. In fact, this is all part of what makes the film great. The Allies who fought in World War II were heroes, and they deserve to be depicted that way. The Allies fought, and many died, to make the world a better place. We have this idea that anti-war films are good and films that support war are bad. But that just isn't true. It's all about context. And when your context is World War II and your soldiers are fighting Nazis, that is good. War is hell, and there are few reasons to fight one. But stopping the Nazis without a doubt was one of them. In contexts like this, war should be supported, not through propaganda, but in an honest and respectful way. Saving Private Ryan does this. It gives an honest depiction of war, from the perspective of a side who was right for fighting it. This is why the film is not anti-war, and it is also what makes it a great war film.